Firstly, I wanted to tell you a little bit about what this webinar is going to be about. So every year we do a probes webinar from Bruker, and you might have seen some of those in the past. We've been doing them for feels like about a decade now. So it's becoming interesting to think of like a theme to keep it sort of new and fresh. So I didn't really want to repeat what we did the last couple of years. So if anyone watched the last year one, you might remember I had a bunch of colleagues, sales apps people, sales. We did kind of a probes showdown. We each kind of presented our favorite probe. And this year, what I thought it would be nice to do as kind of a more educational piece is really to tell you about probes within the kind of format of how we make them, because we're in this sort of exclusive position as an AFM manufacturer that has our own probe fab here, as shown in the picture in Camarillo. And so we kind of make all these hundreds of different types of probes. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting. So with that on this slide, again, you can see the picture of the probe fab. It's a large space. We have over 15 sort of regular staff that work there. And again, I'm not going to go through every bullet point, lots of different processes and equipment to make all the probes, lots of testing equipment. What I quite like is we use a lot of our own Bruker made tools. So we have, thin film measuring tools. We have stylus profilers like DECTAX. We have many AFMs, as you would expect, to measure roughness and do kind of real AFM tests with the probes. We even recently have a auto AFM and Insight cap there as well. White light interferometer as well. So really, Bruker Probes is a customer of Bruker as well. Okay. So let's look at the life cycle of an AFM probe. So I put together this kind of wheel with a very kind of basic life cycle of a probe. And I've got a pop-up here I got to get rid of. So yeah, as you might imagine, we start with kind of a raw wafer, and then we take that through various processes until eventually it ends up as a probe that someone can buy and then use in their AFM. And again, the slides sort of coming after this, we'll stop at various points and we'll detail different equipment that's used, and basically at what point certain probes come off the line and they're essentially ready. We make over 200 different types of probe. So, this kind of wheel here, every probe is at a certain point, whether it's kind of in an etching process or a qualification process, or it's being boxed. And actually, for very high volume probes, all the different probe types take a different amount of time to make, but maybe an average is 8 weeks from start to finish. So for very high volume probes, like a Scan Assist Air or an R-Test for 300 tapping probe, we are actually at as many as 4 sort of batches going through, sort of wafers in progress at different points in this cycle. So it's a juggling, keeping a lot of balls in the air at the same time. And again, just to speak to some of these things, if you consider this a clock, if you look at the 4 p.m. position here, this shows you a probe that's kind of enlarged. This looks like an SNL type. So we've got 2 cantilevers at the north, 2 cantilevers at the south. Once it's in that process, it might go to bend tests and sort of checking frequency. We might do some inspection of the tip. And eventually if the wafer passes inspection, it'll go onto a pick and place machine and then be placed into the gel pads like this. They will be stocked. And then when we get a purchase order here at the sort of 11 p.m. position, we'll put those in shelves and they'll await sort of the FedEx guy. And that's when hopefully you should get it a few days later and start taking great AFM images with it. So let's get into a bit more specifics. So how does a probe actually start life? So in the previous slide, I said, it starts with the raw material, but actually it starts before that. Why do we make a new probe, one more probe on top of the hundreds that we already have? So I've got some examples here that I think really speak to that. If you look at the probe namings here, So we've got a peak force high res probe, a fast scan probe, scan assist probe, a high speed fluid probe, a quantitative nanomechanics live cell probe. So it really shows you, these days we make a probe really with a system or an application or a technology in mind. And we think, what is, the cantilever shape and spring constant and the material and the tip sort of attributes that's going to make that, a good probe for the job. Okay. So once we have that, and that can be, feedback from customers, like what they need, or it can be us creating new tools, because again, based on the technology or the tool, we have certain constraints, maybe laser spot size, for example, to work with. And then we take it to, the tools. So we need to create masks and pattern to be able to create these cantilevers and start the process. And then we really get into it. So actually kind of fabricating the probe. And this is a very simplified process. This is many steps that I've tried to condense to one slide, and just kind of 3 steps for our main products, which are, as many of you know, silicon and silicon nitride. So on the left track here, down the left-hand side, a very basic simplified process for silicon probes is we start with sort of a front side, a tip side etch of the silicon with a mask that creates an undercut tip. So the kind of purple you see here is the masking area and the mask tip, and we etch through the silicon. Then we continue to do that and actually make the shape of the cantilever and the probe body, so the chip itself. And then we can actually flip that over, and then from the reverse side, we actually etch to release the cantilever and the chip. So then what you see here in the cartoon, is a basic rectangular probe. The cantilever, you can see the chip body, and then tabs that actually hold that probe to the frame of the wafer. And essentially that will give you something like this, an RTESP 300. So a rotated tip, tapping etched silicon probe that is 300 kilohertz frequency. And then the sort of counterpoint to that, so the other main technique we use, material is silicon nitride. So you can think of that we actually grow an oxide on the silicon wafer, and we sort of leave an area exposed, and we can kind of etch into that silicon to form a pyramidal cavity. And then we can strip that oxide and deposit a silicon nitride thin film that is basically conformal. So it actually forms in that pyramid. And then if we flip that over and etch from the tip side, the front side, to remove remaining silicon, we essentially reveal that silicon nitride lever and tip. And then a good example of that is this MLCT bio probe. So you can actually see here, this is a silicon nitride cantilever and tip, and you can really clearly see from the side that pyramidal tip and how it's different from the silicon tip. And one last process that we do quite a lot is actually combine these techniques. So again, as many of you might know, we sometimes want to combine silicon nitride levers with a silicon tip to marry kind of a sharp tip with a lower spring constant cantilever. So that is kind of like a combination of these 2 techniques. I won't go into it further. Okay. So if you just do that, then you've already got some probes that you could, pretty much stop at that point and qualify them, and then they're ready to sort of use. So an example of that is, again, sort of mentioned on the previous slide, an RTESP 300, and various other probes like that in the range. So in the bullet points here, you can see an uncoated tapping probe, an RTSP 525, that's a 500 kilohertz tapping probe, a 300, a 150, and others like this. Those are probes that can be used in tapping mode for regular imaging in air. We also make contact probes that can be like this, so an RFESP 40 or -75, and again, sort of more that are used in contact mode. And from the silicon nitride range, an example might be an MSCT-UC. The UC is uncoated. So that's an uncoated silicon nitride probe. So these probes can all be used, but, and it's a big but, I would say, 99% of the time, you want to be using a reflex or a detector side coated probe that has aluminum and gold on it. There are some applications where you might want an uncoated probe, or it might be because you want to deposit your own films on top. But again, 99% of people should be getting probes with backside coatings on, which takes me to my next step. So we have the raw probe, an uncoated silicon or silicon nitride, or combination thereof. And almost immediately we want to put a reflex coating on it.